The airport buzzed with the usual early morning chaos, hurried footsteps, rolling suitcases, and half-awake travelers clutching coffee cups like lifelines. Flight 378 from Washington, D.C. to Nevada was preparing for boarding, and among the crowd stood Ethan Cole, holding a sleepy little girl in his arms. She was 5, with golden brown hair that always managed to escape her ponytail and big hazel eyes that mirrored his own. Her name tag read, Ava Cole. If found, please call Daddy. Ethan shifted her weight as the boarding call echoed. Passengers in Group B, please proceed to Gate 32. He walked quietly down the jet bridge, one hand on his duffel bag, the other gently holding Ava's tiny hand. To everyone else, he looked like any tired single father, polite, calm, worn by life's weight. But behind that quiet exterior lay years of battle scars, not the visible kind, but the kind that carved themselves into a man's soul. Seat 12F, right this way, sir, said the smiling flight attendant. Ethan nodded and slid into the aisle seat beside the window. Ava clambered next to him, clutching her teddy bear. Within minutes, her head was on his shoulder, fast asleep before takeoff. He stared out the window as the engines roared to life, the world shrinking beneath them. The skyline of D.C. faded into clouds, and he let out a slow breath, the kind that carried both relief and regret. From his jacket pocket, he pulled out an old, weathered photograph. 3 men in flight suits grinned under a scorching desert sun, the majestic shadow of an F-22 Raptor looming behind them. Across the top, a scrawled caption read, Ironhawk Squadron, until the end. Ethan's jaw tightened. Until the end. He ran a thumb across the faded edge of the photo, the ache of memory rising in his chest. He had once been Commander Ethan, Viper 1, Cole, one of the Air Force's top test pilots, the kind who broke speed records and defied death daily. But 3 years ago, during a mission gone wrong, his squadron was lost in a classified incident that was buried under layers of government secrecy. He'd walked away from the military the next day and never looked back. Now, he was just Seat 12F, a single dad on a commercial flight, trying to give his daughter a normal life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, came the familiar voice over the speakers. We'll be cruising at 36,000 feet today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight. Weather looks clear all the way to Nevada. Ethan froze for half a second. That voice. He recognized it. Captain Reynolds. A name he hadn't heard since his Air Force days. One of his rookies. A faint, ironic smile crossed his face. Small world. Huh, kid. He leaned back, closing his eyes, trying to catch some rest before landing. But peace never lasts long in his world. About 2 hours into the flight, turbulence hit. A mild shake at first, then a violent jolt that sent coffee cups flying and passengers gasping. The plane shuddered, dipping sharply before regaining altitude. Please fasten your seatbelts immediately, came Reynolds' voice, more strained this time. We're experiencing unexpected turbulence. Ethan's instincts sharpened in an instant. He glanced at the wing, a flicker of smoke near the right engine. His gut tightened. That wasn't turbulence. That was a system failure. Another jolt. The lights flickered. The hum of the engine dropped to a worrying pitch. The flight attendants hurried down the aisle, trying to calm passengers. One of them, young and trembling, passed by Ethan's row. Miss, he said firmly but calmly. Get the captain on comms. Tell him, Viper 1 is on board. She blinked, confused. I'm sorry, who? Just say it, he repeated, eyes steady. He'll understand. Uncertain but desperate, she relayed the message through the intercom to the cockpit. A few moments later, the speaker crackled again. Passenger in Seat 12F, could you please come forward to the cockpit immediately? The entire cabin buzzed with confusion. Passengers whispered, some staring as Ethan unbuckled his seatbelt. He gently leaned over to the elderly woman across the aisle. Ma'am, would you mind keeping an eye on my daughter? She's still asleep. The woman nodded, eyes wide but kind. Of course, dear. Ethan gave Ava one last glance, peaceful, unaware, then turned and made his way toward the cockpit, calm and steady despite the chaos. Inside, alarms blared. The control panel blinked red across multiple systems. Captain Reynolds turned, eyes wide in disbelief when he saw who walked in. Commander Cole, he breathed. Sir. What? How? Ethan's tone was all business. "You've got a cascade failure in your electrical bus. Your right engine's relay is fried. You'll lose stabilization if you don't reroute through secondary avionics now." Reynolds didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." Ethan slid into the co-pilot's seat. His hands moved across the switches like a pianist returning to his favorite song, muscle memory flawless. He called out commands sharply. "Cut power to engine 2. Flaps midline. Rudder manual override. Throttle left engine to 75. Within seconds, the violent shaking began to ease. The plane leveled out. The alarms silenced one by one. Reynolds exhaled shakily. "You still got it, Commander." Ethan didn't look up. "Never lost it." The co-pilot stared at him, awe written all over his face. "Wait. The Viper 1. The Ironhawk legend. The one who..." Ethan cut him off with a raised hand. "Focus on your altitude, Lieutenant." Minutes later, the plane emerged from the clouds into clear skies. The crisis had passed. Reynolds looked at him, gratitude shining in his eyes. "Sir, you just saved 230 lives." Ethan gave a small, tired smile. "Just happy to land in one piece." When the flight finally touched down safely in Nevada, passengers erupted into applause, cheering, crying, clapping for the pilots who brought them home. But the real hero, the man in 12F, simply walked back to his seat, lifted his sleeping daughter into his arms, and quietly exited the plane when the doors opened. He didn't want thanks. He didn't want cameras. He just wanted normal. But fate had other plans. As he stepped into the terminal, a deep rumble rolled across the sky. People looked up, shielding their eyes from the sun. 3 F-22 Raptors soared in perfect formation above the airport, gleaming, majestic, unmistakable. The loudspeakers inside the terminal crackled to life with a voice that sent chills through the crowd. "Greater than, to the passenger from seat 12F, the sky remembers you, sir." Gasps spread through the terminal. Reporters, soldiers, and civilians all turned as the Raptors descended, taxiing to the edge of the runway. The pilots climbed out, stood shoulder to shoulder, and snapped to attention, saluting the man standing near the glass. Ava tugged her father's sleeve, blinking up at the sight. "Daddy, why are they saluting you?" Ethan swallowed hard, eyes glistening as he looked toward the horizon, where the jets he once commanded stood proud once more. He smiled softly and whispered, "Because once upon a time, sweetheart, your daddy flew with angels." And for the first time in years, Ethan Cole allowed himself to stand tall again, not as C-12F, but as Viper 1. 2 days after Flight 378's miraculous landing, the world still buzzed with the mystery. Videos of the F-22 Raptors saluting outside the Nevada terminal had gone viral. Headlines flashed across every screen. "Unknown passenger saves flight. Who is C-12F? Air Force pilots honor civilian hero." But the man everyone wanted to interview had vanished. Ethan Cole, once Commander Ethan, Viper 1, Cole, had quietly rented a small house on the outskirts of Las Vegas, far from cameras and chaos. He fixed fences by day, made grilled cheese sandwiches for Ava by night, and pretended the sky was just a ceiling. He tried to believe that what happened on Flight 378 was a coincidence, a one-time slip of fate. Yet every time he closed his eyes, he saw those Raptors in formation, his brother's legacy cutting through the clouds. Ava chased butterflies in the backyard, her laughter carrying through the dry Nevada air. "Daddy, look, a yellow one." Ethan smiled faintly. "Catch it, pilot," he said, using the nickname he always used for her. But inside, the word pilot felt like an echo of another life. That evening, the sound of tires crunching over gravel broke the calm. A black SUV rolled to a stop at the edge of his driveway. The windows were tinted. Government issue. Ethan's shoulders tensed. He stepped forward, the soldier in him instantly awake. The door opened, and a tall woman in an Air Force uniform stepped out. Short blonde hair, sharp eyes, posture perfect. The Silver Eagle insignia on her collar glinted in the sun. "Commander Cole," she said crisply. "I'm Colonel Samantha Harper, Intelligence Division. I need a word." Ethan crossed his arms. "You're wasting your time, Colonel. I'm retired." She handed him a sealed folder marked classified, eyes only. Inside were satellite photos, blurred objects streaking over the Pacific, heat signatures that didn't match any known aircraft. Their back, she said quietly. Ethan's brow furrowed. Project Phoenix. Harper nodded. Your last mission with Ironhawk wasn't as closed as the Pentagon claimed. We think the enemy recovered the tech. They're testing it again, using unmanned stealth drones far beyond our radar reach. He stared at the photos. The shapes looked wrong. Angular. Predatory. Why me? He asked. There are other pilots. Better ones. No one flies like you, Harper replied. And no one knows the Phoenix systems like Ironhawk's commander. Ethan's jaw tightened. Ironhawk's gone, Colonel. They died on my watch. Harper's expression softened for the first time. Then honor them by finishing what they started. He looked toward the yard. Ava sat in the grass, humming to her teddy bear. She was his world. I have a daughter, he said. She's all I've got left. Harper hesitated. We can keep her safe. But if you don't come back, no one will be. The air felt heavier, the silence louder. For years, Ethan had sworn off the uniform, sworn off the guilt that haunted his nights. But now the world that had once broken him was asking for him again. He exhaled slowly. Tell them to fuel up the Raptors. Viper 1 is wheels up in 1 hour. 1 hour later, Nellis Air Force Base. The desert shimmered in golden heat as Ethan stepped onto the tarmac. Hangar 14 stood open, alive with motion, technicians hustling, engines roaring, the smell of jet fuel hanging thick in the air. And there she was, his jet. Sleek, deadly, reborn. The F-22X prototype, Phoenix's direct descendant. Painted on her nose was a silver serpent coiled around wings, the Ironhawk insignia. The mechanics paused when they saw him. Whispered voices rippled through the hangar. That's him. Viper 1. Colonel Harper approached, holding out a flight helmet. Welcome home, Commander. He took it in both hands. The inside still smelled faintly of the old leather from years ago. Let's go hunting, he said. In the sky. Minutes later, 3 Raptors thundered upward through the blazing horizon, vapor trails slicing the desert blue. Greater than, Ironhawk Squadron, form up. Copy, Viper 1. His heart raced in rhythm with the engine's roar. The heads-up display flickered to life, and suddenly it was like he'd never left. Telemetry clean. No interference, his new wingman reported. Good. Keep comms open, Ethan said. Stay sharp. Phoenix birds like to hide in blind zones. Then radar pinged. 3 unknown contacts ahead, moving fast. They're breaking formation. Harper's voice came through from command. We're losing visual. Not if I find them first. Ethan's voice hardened. Ironhawk, weapons hot. Permission to engage. Granted. The sky erupted. Unmanned stealth drones materialized from the clouds, black, angular shapes gliding with unnatural grace. They banked hard, turning directly toward the Raptors. Ethan rolled his jet into a steep climb. Talon 2, cover my 6. Talon 3, flank left. Missiles streaked. One of the drones exploded into flame. But the others countered, diving in synchronized precision, too perfect for human pilots. AI controlled, Ethan muttered. They learned our tactics. He forced his jet into a dive, gravity clawing at his chest. The drones followed, their speed unreal. At the last second, he pulled up, rolled, and fired. Another drone disintegrated in a burst of light. Talon 2 hit. A voice shouted, I'm losing control. Eject. Now. Ethan barked. A white parachute bloomed below. Only one drone remained, darting through the clouds like a phantom. It cut upward, locking onto Ethan's Raptor. The warning alarm screamed. Missile lock. Harper's voice yelled in his ear. Ethan's mind went cold. Calculations flashed faster than thought. He cut power, rolled the jet into the path of the sun, then hit the afterburners full throttle. The drone overshot, blinded by glare. Fox 2, he whispered, and fired. The missile struck true. The explosion lit the desert sky like a sunrise. Silence followed. The radar went clear. Greater than, command, this is Viper 1. All hostiles neutralized. The sky's clear. The control room erupted in cheers. But Ethan didn't celebrate. His knuckles were white on the throttle, his heartbeat thunderous. Ironhawk. We did it. Return to base. When the Raptors touched down, the ground crew broke into applause. Colonel Harper ran forward as Ethan climbed down the ladder, helmet tucked under one arm. It's done, she asked. He nodded. For now. But someone built those drones, Colonel. And they'll build more. Harper looked grim. Then we'll need you again. Ethan shook his head. No, you'll need the next Ironhawk. Train them right this time. Before she could respond, a small voice cut through the air. Daddy. Ava ran across the tarmac, arms outstretched. Ethan dropped to one knee, catching her mid-sprint. Her arms wrapped tightly around his neck. You were gone so long, she said, voice trembling. He smiled through exhaustion. Just fixing something up in the sky, sweetheart. She looked up at the fading contrails above them. Did you win? Ethan chuckled softly. Let's just say the bad guys won't bother us for a while. Harper approached quietly. She's a brave kid, she said. Ava turned to her. Are you Daddy's boss? Harper laughed lightly. Something like that. Ethan ruffled Ava's hair. Come on, pilot. Let's go home. As they walked toward the waiting jeep, the sun sank behind the mountains, painting the horizon in orange fire. The Raptors stood gleaming in the distance, guardians of a sky at peace, for now. Ava glanced up. Daddy, will they call you again? Ethan looked toward the clouds, eyes distant but calm. Maybe, he said softly. But next time, he smiled, tucking a strand of her hair behind her ear. They'll have to find C-12F first. And as they drove away from the base, the world returned to silence, save for the faint echo of engines high above, where the legend of Viper 1 still ruled the sky.